Oh, the tales of woe that unfurl within the hallowed, yet tragically flawed, halls of the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire, Birmingham, a place where the echoes of music are marred by the discordant notes of discontent. Listen closely, dear friends, as I weave you a tapestry of sorrow, a chronicle of my heartache and disillusionment in a place that promised so much, yet delivered so painfully little. Once upon a time, in the not-so-distant past, I ventured forth with my kin in tow, eager to bask in the enchantment of Hansel Gretel. Alas, the audience, a congregation of joyless phantoms, suffocated the whimsy with their scowls and icy glares. A man so peculiar and bereft of manners glowered at my dear little ones for the audacity to cough, to breathe even. It was as though we had stumbled into a conclave of opera's most dour gatekeepers, not a sanctuary of shared delight. How the heart sinks to hear laughter and merriment shushed into silence, and oh, the venue itself, a facade of grandeur concealing the rot within. Decent facilities they boasted, yet what of the instruments constantly out of tune, the equipment that sputtered and died with alarming regularity? The staff, unhelpful ghouls, dismissed our concerns with a wave of their indifferent hands. The promised state-of-the-art studios, a cruel jest, a mirage that vanished upon approach, leaving in its wake the bitter taste of betrayal. The Conservatoire, a place of learning, of growth, yet what of the bullying spectre that haunts its corridors? A staff member, wielding their power with the malice of a tyrant, sought to crush my dreams beneath their heel. To think that such a place, meant to nurture the blossoming talents of the young, could harbor such a malignant force. It is a wonder that any spirit can flourish under the shadow of such oppression. Lovely venue, they say, yet what is beauty without truth? To be told that the concert would end at the stroke of 10, only to find the stage still empty, the band yet to grace us with their presence, is to be adrift in a sea of falsehoods. We, the eager supplicants, had waited 2 long years, our hearts tethered to the promise of this night. But the sands of time are cruel and unyielding, and we were forced to depart, our spirits heavy with the tunes we never heard. And the accommodation, dear listeners, a euphemism for the mausoleums where we were expected to rest our weary heads. Damp and noisy, a cacophony that mocked our attempts at slumber, at study. To be charged a king's ransom for such squalor is an affront to decency, a tax upon the very soul of the starving artist. The coarse structure, a labyrinthine mess, a Gordian knot of constant changes and a dearth of communication. To be a student here is to be Sisyphus, endlessly pushing one's boulder uphill, only to watch it tumble back down with each new directive from on high. The grading system, a capricious deity dispensing judgment with a whimsical disregard for fairness or consistency. Accessibility, a cruel joke for those who dare to dream in the face of adversity. The Conservatoire, a fortress in which the differently abled are made to feel as though they are an intrusion, an afterthought in a world that lauds itself on inclusivity. And so, dear friends, we have journeyed through the looking glass, into a world where the promise of artistic fulfillment is but a siren's call, luring the unwary upon the rocks of disillusionment. The Royal Birmingham Conservatoire, Birmingham, a place of such potential, squandered by the indifference of those who hold its fate in their hands. I ask you, gentle listeners, to join me in lamenting this tragic state of affairs. Have you not felt the sting of such betrayals, the ache of dreams deferred, of potential unfulfilled? Let us share.
Near the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire, you know, where music fills the air and hopes dance on the pavement. There's a different kind of performance happening offstage. It's like the city has its own dark symphony playing out in the streets, where tourists are the unwilling audience, and the scammers are the maestros conducting a fraudulent orchestra. Take, for instance, the time when a store near the Conservatoire dressed itself up like a designer haven, offering bags that whispered sweet nothings of luxury and elegance. But beneath the glossy surface, those bags were just imposters, cheap fakes with dreams stitched together with lies. Tourists, captivated by the promise of a steal, parted with their hard-earned cash, only to find their Gucci or Louis Vuitton was more bull than bull ring. I imagine the owners, like shadows at dusk, slipping away into the night, pockets lined with the echoes of disappointment. And then there was the electronics shop incident, where phones masquerading as new were really seasoned actors in a tech play, already rehearsed in someone else's life. The betrayal must have felt like a stab in the back, especially for those who traveled so far, only to be handed a device that belonged to another. The authorities, like knights in dull armor, would eventually come for the shop, but not before the damage was done, leaving customers to mourn their lost savings and trust. Not far from the Conservatoire, the jewelry quarter sparkled with deceit. A shop promised golden treasures, but beneath the shine was just brass, tarnished dreams sold by weight. I can almost hear the heart sinking, the realization that the necklace or ring they cherished was a lie, the value evaporating like morning mist under the harsh light of truth. You know, it's like these streets near the Conservatoire are lined with stories of illusion and disillusion, where every glittering window could be a stage for the next act of deception. It's a playground for those who trade in fakes, where the gullible are led on a merry dance, and the only souvenirs are bitterness and regret. The markets, too, were not immune to the siren call of counterfeit temptations, sunglasses that promised to shield your eyes from the harsh glare of reality, instead left tourists exposed to the brutal truth of their own folly. The stall owners, like conjurers, vanished into the crowd, leaving behind nothing but the shell of a scam and the sting of betrayal. And let us not forget the sneaker store, where the allure of limited edition was just bait on a hook. Customers, eager to own a piece of rarity, found themselves walking in shoes that were nothing more than cheap imitations, the victory of the purchase turning to ashes in their mouths. The shop, like a ghost, would disappear with the dawn, leaving behind a trail of dashed hopes. These are the tales whispered among the cobblestones near the Conservatoire, where the music of deception plays on, and the audience is always changing. It's a stark reminder that sometimes the most captivating performances are the ones we never ask to see.
Businesses that sit close to the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire share a common shadow. They often promise elegance, but too often deliver disappointment, high prices and service that feels more like a test of patience than hospitality. Take the upscale dining scene. Restaurants in this pocket tend to charge a premium while handing out plates that are cold, overcooked, or simply too small to satisfy a hungry visitor. The Wilderness is a perfect illustration. Its sleek interior suggests a special night out, yet guests repeatedly describe food that arrives late, steaks that are as tough as old leather and portions that leave you still craving more. Even the wine list, which should sparkle, feels basic and uninspired. The combination of bright lights that blind diners and a noisy atmosphere makes any conversation feel forced, turning a potentially memorable meal into a hurried, uncomfortable experience. Moving to casual morning fare, the story does not improve. Cafes and bakeries near the Conservatoire often promise fresh pastries and artisanal coffees, but the reality is far less inviting. Medicine Bakery, for example, presents an attractive display while serving pastries that taste stale, cakes that are dry and overly sweet, and a matcha drink that somehow smells of spice rather than green tea. Service can feel invisible, with drinks disappearing before they are even ordered and staff ignoring tables that wait patiently. The result is a feeling of being invisible, as if you are watching a performance where the audience never receives a curtain call. The pattern continues with the chain-style Indian eatery Tamatanga. Here the expectation of warm, flavorful curries is met with soggy tempura, tiny servings of naan that arrive one by one, and a staff attitude that many describe as rude or dismissive. Some diners even sense an undercurrent of bias, noting that families with children are treated with impatience. The overall impression is a rushed dining experience where the kitchen seems to hurry guests out before the food can even settle on the plate. Even a name as storied as the Ivy carries the same weight of unmet promises. Afternoon tea, a British tradition, should feel elegant and comforting, yet visitors report sandwiches served in takeaway boxes, scones as hard as bricks, and creme brulee that arrives soggy instead of caramelized. The service appears hurried waiters rush guests through courses, sometimes pushing desserts before the main dish is finished. The ambience, while beautiful, cannot hide the feeling that the kitchen is trying to finish before the clock strikes closing time. Finally, the trendy spot, the Pineapple Club, tries to attract a nightlife crowd with its retro decor, yet the experience often feels disjointed. Patrons mention menus that are hidden, cocktails that are overly sweet or bland, and a kitchen that shuts down well before the bar stays open. The temperature in the restrooms can be so cold that guests shiver, and the overall value feels stretched thin across a pricey bill. What does this mean for a traveller strolling past the Conservatoire? Expect that many establishments may look promising